Are you all ready to join me today in our trip to outer space?
Come along quietly or not.
I will talk to you of art. For there is nothing else. Some artist made a hook. Yes. Bite upon it.
Classy. And now, without further ado,
Hello there, folks. Welcome to another episode of the Planet Shivers Podcast. I am, and always will be, Albert Shivers, and what you just heard was the song Grandma by Rubix Pube, a phenomenal, fantastic, and fun band from right here in PA, led by Vanessa Marchiano, who is my very special guest on the podcast today. Before we get to my conversation with Vanessa, there's two orders of business I need to get through. First of all, next week, June 24th, there is a big show happening in Emmaus, Pennsylvania. It is the King Coffee All-Star Extravaganza. Again, this is June 24th. Next week, don't miss it. You got Rubix Pube, Nate Marks and the Squirrel Trappers, D Smooth, along with a lengthy, strong list of stand-up comedians that include Taylor Bernstein, Joey Tepedino, Kyle Neff, and the one and only Tony Viagra, and more. But as an extra added specialty bonus gift, I will be displaying some of my art at this show as well. So you have music, comedy, and art all in one place. 506 Chestnut Street, Emmaus, PA, 6:30 p.m. till whenever we finish. Once again, for the third time, Thursday, June 24th. Second thing I'd like to do, so Vanessa is now the leader of the band Rubix Pube. She does the lead singing and plays guitar, but I want to quickly shout out the other two members of Rubix Pube. I eventually want to have all of Rubix Pube on the show in the future, but Rob Shepard on bass and Daniel Rivera on drums, who both are also phenomenal musicians, and you also just heard them on the track Grandma. Now, actually a third thing. I'm going to shoehorn in a third thing. My last handful of podcasts, I've been a bit spoiled. Nate Marks brought his squirrel with him. Rabbi Melman brought his dog with him. And this time around, Vanessa brought a cornucopia of gifts that included some donuts, her CD, as well as a Gigi Allen pamphlet. I'm beginning to get spoiled, people, and I can get used to all these goodies people bringing over. So, I'm just saying, if you haven't been on the show and you want to be on, might want to grease the wheels a little bit, because people have been lately. Don't worry, I'm only serious. Anyway, donuts, I think that was pretty great. You're never going to go wrong with me with some chocolate frosted donuts. So, Vanessa must have known something. And, by the way, this is the last week and a half. You can see my newest art at the Gammon Art Gallery in Stroudsburg. That show ends June 27th, so try to make it there if you can too. Let's get to the show. A great, insightful musician and truly a swell gal and a great person, Vanessa Marchiano.
hell do you think you're doing? Dragging your butt through the day, selling body and soul to a bunch of bland normals? Acting stupid so they'll think you're one of them? Tired of getting all of the guilt, but none of the sex? There is a simple answer, dear friend. A glowing beacon of slack amidst the turmoil and darkness. It's J.R. Bob Dobbs, the living slack master, and his church of the SubGenius.
Alright, folks, welcome to another episode of the Planet Shivers Podcast. I'm Albert Shivers, and today on the episode I'm very excited to have on fantastic musician, leader of Rubix Pube, Vanessa Marchiano. Thanks for doing the show, Vanessa.
Hey, yeah, I'm so excited. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely. I'm very excited for our conversation, and we'll start at the beginning. So, where are you from?
Well, I was born in Naples, Florida.
Okay.
Yeah, I lived in New York for a little bit of my childhood. I came and started school in the Poconos. And then I've always been in East Stroudsburg area until now.
Cool.
Yeah.
Where in New York?
Staten Island. I have family up there.
Okay, I'm from there too.
Oh, nice.
So that's cool. This other Staten Islander I've had. So
Hey.
that's awesome too. And so how long were you on Staten Island for?
Not that long, just like my toddler years.
Okay.
Yeah, I started school up here, so.
Cool. So then what led you into music?
So I just liked the guitar when I was a toddler. Like, my mom got me one for Christmas, and it was kind of like cliche, like the movie, you know. I was like, oh my gosh, and it was like a pink acoustic guitar. And I played it a little bit, you know, but obviously, like, I didn't have any direction. And then I started taking lessons with Don Mayer, who was teaching up here. He was local. Now he lives in Florida.
Okay.
But I did lessons with him from 5 to like 14 or 15 years old. Like, I stuck with him, and it would be like once or twice a week. But he had a very unconventional way of teaching. It wasn't like, you know, straight in the books and stuff. We did a lot of like ear training, and any songs that I liked, like growing up, like I was able to learn, you know, however I wanted by ear. And we did sheet music, you know. When I started going into school, I did the marching band and like the jazz ensemble and stuff. I played guitar in both. Cool. And I kind of took more of a formal approach to music in that regard. But yeah, when I was about, I don't know, maybe like 13, 14, 15, my guitar teacher would take me out with his band. Like, you know, they'd play at the bar or whatever, and like I'd sit in and play a couple songs with them. And like, it was like, I don't know, some people would think that's like, oh, you're taking like a little kid to the bar, but it's like, you know, it's experience. You know, I get over stage fright at a young age, which has like helped me now, definitely. He always used to do this thing, and it's like very Mr. Miyagi-esque. He would be like, you know, if you can light a flame of a lighter under your finger and like feel it, your calluses aren't hard enough. And that always like had like, I had an aggressive approach to playing like guitar and then eventually bass, and just having like, you know, playing hard, getting good sound. So I was playing guitar, and then I picked up the bass, and I was in a band called Feller, and we still practice here and there, but we were mostly a touring band. And we did a lot of East Coast tours. We did South by Southwest in Austin, Texas. And I was just like picking up bass, learning more of that. And then I started Rubix Pube. When COVID hit, it kind of pushed me in a direction. We weren't able to tour, obviously, so we were more in the studio. I was more in the studio. And then I've always played music with Dan, my drummer, and through like our childhood years, I've known him. And then I actually met Rob probably like over a year ago, and then he started playing bass for us, and it just clicked. Like, I mean, me and Dan have always had like musical chemistry, but like having Robin, like we just had like this unique sound. And then having the studio, we have a studio in Bethlehem. We had Nate come in, and who you had on your last podcast. But yeah, we've been working with him, and then I've been playing bass again for him, which has like really helped me just expand all my horizons and styles. Yeah, so that's where I'm at now. I'm playing guitar in Rubik's Pube, and I sing, and I play bass for Nate Marks.
That's a good resume. So I want to jump all the way back for a second. So what was it like for you to be invited up at these bars and at these gigs with adults?
Yeah.
When you were so young.
I mean, obviously my parents knew my guitar teacher,
Right,
and
yeah,
they would come out obviously as well to watch. I would be so nervous, like I would just be a panicking child at the bar, and it was like people would be like, "Oh, that's so traumatic," but like it is definitely something that has like stuck with me through everything. Like every time I get on stage, like I don't fear, what people are gonna think or like how I sound, which has led me into more of like a weird original music direction. Because I would go out and play like covers with him, like Rolling Stones, Eric Clapton, like just like bar music that you hear up here. But yeah, it helped me just like mentally be a performer.
I can understand that, because if you can make it through that, then it's almost all downhill from there.
Yeah.
Like that sort of pressure at that age. And everything.
Yeah. It's just like mastering your skill, like developing more of an image as a person growing up and stuff.
So during COVID is when you said is when Rubik's Pube began. That project began.
Yeah, like a year and a half ago.
Okay. What was it sort of like just born out of having all the downtime type thing, or?
I had the idea in my head that I wanted to go like more of an avant-garde direction with music. I wanted to put, my original ideas out there. I was, in bands in high school where I'd write some stuff, but it was more like emo and just like, it was very like sad music, and I wanted to have more of like developed moral and opinion and just like presence, more than just stuff that's like catchy and whatever stuff people want to hear. And Dan and Rob backed that idea up. Like they love, like seeing new stuff and playing new music, and we just, I don't know. I front the band and I do a lot of the writing, but so much of it is like the three of us equally contributing. We do the open mics and we'll have a different drummer sit in, and like the songs sound great, but it's another musician's take on our songs, and it's great to see that, but there is chemistry in a trio. I think people underestimate that too.
Oh, definitely. And I've heard the exact example that you're talking about. I've been there maybe a couple of times when it wasn't your usual drummer. It was someone else sitting there. Yeah. And like you said, sounds great, but there is a sound that the three of you have that I don't think anybody can just jump into. Yeah. And that shows just like how almost even it is. Like you could sense the evenness of the music, that everybody's unique voice, because I feel like each of you are pretty unique in the way that you play. And you're bringing that together for a music type that's very unique. Yeah. And I don't know, it all just comes through very well.
Yeah, you see, I feel like a lot of the time you go out and you see a bar band, and then it's like somebody's singing, okay, that's the singer. And then it's like, okay, the guitar and bass are playing some chords, that guy plays bass, and they're just like making a sound. But I feel like if you see us perform live, like everybody is performing themselves. Like there's always something to look at. Like I try to make a spectacle on stage, and people feel strongly about it, they either really dislike it or they really like it. And last night some guy said to me at King Coffee in Emmaus, he was like, I always watch you guys and I'm enticed, but I would never listen to your music. Like if people asked me do I like that music? Like I would say no, but I can't help but watch you. And I was like, okay, I don't know how to feel about that, but I'm still flattered that we put out such a unique presence.
Yeah. And that's now I feel like in music, that's one of the most important things, because there's so much talent that it's all almost getting flooded out by what is being made popular.
Yeah.
So I think with any kind of art nowadays, you got to find a way to be unique in yourself and be standing apart from what the norm is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think any emotion invoked, whether somebody likes you or doesn't, is somewhat of like a success.
Yeah, it shows that like your art's effective.
Yeah. When you guys started the idea, were these the songs you had written after you guys formed the group?
Yeah, we started writing. I think I had like maybe 2 songs just to like kick us off. I was like, all right, and then Rob put bass down. Dan would put his King Kong drumming style behind it, and the first album we did was People Died Today, which is like a very raw EP, and I would say it's just like an avant-garde punk style, but it has a very quirky production. We produced it ourselves. And then our second album, we did a compilation called Bob Comp 1. And it's a SubGenius compilation album. And it has local acts on it, like Nate Marks is on there, but it's others, people from the Church of the SubGenius that put music together. And we just compiled that and like produced some of it. And that was our second album. And then we had kind of like I had an epiphany just about like making like teetering the line between something that's melodical and something that's like strange, like where do people draw the line between like what pleases their ear and like what turns them off, like people are like, oh, I'll listen to anything, and then you put on Whale Calls for 30 minutes and then suddenly they don't listen to everything, so like where do people kind of see that, like where does their taste lie, So I try to make our sound, I tried to develop it more into like this psychedelic playground of like just weird sounds, and we put out our third album, Hypnostank, on April 24th, and it's definitely has more like algorithmically, it has more common sounds and chord structure, it's more like I wouldn't say poppy, but it has more of that generic sound to it, but still keeping our weird style of lyrical content and just vibe.
How did you guys come up with the name of the band?
Oh, it was just like a joke thought, and I was like, man, like, because I journal like band names, when I think of them, but I was just like, at the bar, I was like, Rubix Pube. And then I drew like on a napkin the cube with like the hairs, and I was like, yeah, it works.
It does.
And it reflects kind of like the playful nature of our shows and attitude.
Yeah. And it's catchy.
Yeah, it is.
It is catchy.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the SubGenius thing. I don't know much about it, so you'll have to forgive ignorant questions here and there. You can combine this into one answer if you want. Maybe say a little bit of what it's about. We haven't had the opportunity to talk about SubGeniuses on the show yet.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to kind of talk about it and to do something different.
Yeah. So actually, I learned about the Church of the SubGenius through Dan, my drummer, and his father, who's actually on the Bob Comp, is a SubGenius Pope. Because the Church of the SubGenius is basically like a, people call it an established cult by nature, but it is like a parody religion. I guess it would be comparable to like Discordianism maybe, like in that regard. But it basically just takes like the algorithm of like religion and all of that and plays off of it. We have like an icon, Prophet Bob Dobbs, J.R. Bob Dobbs, who is like, the prophet of the church. And I had just like read about it through Dan and his dad. I was reading pamphlets, and I became a part of it when I was pretty young, I got ordained in the church, and I was like, man, this is awesome. Like, it's funny, it's original, you know. And I was younger too, so I was like, man, like, this is a real taste of like original crazy weirdness. And then I participated in an event called X Day, which is a SubGenius holiday, July 5th. We are in hopes that the world will end, and we get together and we wait for J.R. Bob Dobbs and the Saucers to come and basically save the SubGeniuses and leave the Pinks to be on this rock. And you know, we get together every year. We wait for the Saucers. They don't come. We go next year, and but they do live music. They do live sound. There's a lot of, I guess, what you would call performance art. Going on there, and I remember going, it was in Ohio the first time I went, and just seeing like all these people be like expressively just how do you say, like almost like tribal humans, you know, like just by nature letting loose, making sounds, like even if they're the most terrible sounds, like we were, you know, in the middle of the woods just on a stage like doing whatever, you know, and it was very expressive and very weird. And I kind of had it, I wanted to pursue that, and it gave me inspiration to just like have a collective here bring those like morals of like why do we have to be in the woods to make these weird sounds? Like, why can't I just go out to the bar and like sit and start like rubbing stuff into my guitar and, you know? So I kind of had that attitude after that, and Dan, he does have that personality too of just like being expressively him, you know. We just decided to take that in like a direction. That was before Rubix Pube though. We were always like jamming on some weird stuff, and it was great to find Rob. He fell right in with that. He loved it.
Nice. So Bob Dobbs, I find his imagery a lot of fun. That being based off of that very 1950s Life magazine, Leave It to Beaver,
exactly,
kind of thing. Do you know what made them choose that image?
Well, that is a big part of it. Like, it's the generic, like, you look at it and you're like, okay, I've seen that face before. I've seen it somewhere. And then, I mean, it kind of plays off of the algorithm of a cult. Like, if you open your eyes to something, you're gonna see something, you know. So it's kind of having Bob Dobbs as someone you can look at and feel like a familiarity. It kind of just like sets the tone for something that's supposed to appeal to you know, somebody having room for something, if that makes sense.
So what is the concept of slack?
So a lot of people think it's like a slacker slacking off, but the SubGenius kind of interpretation of it is like spontaneous correct action. Okay. So spontaneously just doing the right thing without even thinking about it, getting slack, you know, making moves. And I find that Rubix Pube is a band that is very good at surfing the slack plane.
How so?
So this is like a very like diverse topic for me. Like I don't talk about it often, but like being a front woman, you know, playing the guitar and singing and I think I'm awesome at it, you know, like I think I do it well. It's very rare, and a lot of women, I feel like, don't want to acknowledge the advantages and disadvantages that we have being like in the music community sometimes. And I think the fact that it's rare could get you a lot of attention, luckily, but it could also get you a lot of negative attention. So I think, like, you know, I have lucked out by just like being like very good at this, and then like having like a strong like female presence to represent, you know. But it also, I feel like it does get negative attention. Like this is pretty personal, but yesterday at King Coffee, like, it was great. Like, everyone was there, everyone came out, but like, on my way there, I had to call in the cops because I was getting like death threats from somebody on my way up there.
Really?
Yeah, and this is like the reality that I live in that I don't like to talk about, you know? But I think, unfortunately, a lot of it has to do with being female, too. Yeah, it's a rough world, but I really think that Bob is on my side when it comes to making music, you know? Even if I'm dealing with crazies and getting, you know, like...
Yeah, that's crazy, and we can go in deep into it as you would want, but was this something related to your music?
It was somebody I knew personally, but it was not relating to my musical content. It was, I would say some people like to find weaknesses, you know, and like prey on that. And really my only weakness is like my ability to play music. I would never want that compromised. Yeah. And some people find a way to compromise that, you know. So even if it's not about what we're playing or what we're doing, like personal life sometimes can reflect like your stage presence and life.
There's probably a good amount of people now, they think because there's more bands with a bigger female presence or a female lead, that they're more apt to not believe that there's still things that you'll have to deal
exactly.
with,
Yeah. And that's basically what I'm saying. Like it's not just like a blessing or anything, you know. Like there's a bunch of people out there, and I learned that touring too. Like you meet a lot of different people that just it sucks. I feel like, and this is for anyone, this isn't just for women, but you do something cool and sometimes it puts like a target on your back for the wrong person, you know. And that's like honestly, like, part of People Died Today, like, reflects that kind of just, like, pain of, like, is this what I want to do? Like, noise, show, craziness.
It would be one thing if you guys were just the average bar band. But the fact that you're now throwing a lot of original music out into the world adds probably another element to that.
Yeah, and the content we put out is really not controversial. It's playful, you know? Like, I can read off some of our song names, but we have, like, Spinning Top, The Battle to the Death Between Corn Chowder and Jaeger Bombs, like, The Fall Things, which is about, like, you know, people hanging out in the fall and it turning into, like, a blood sacrifice. Like, it's like a Halloween song, you know? And then I have a song called Men Eating Ice Cream, and it's just, and it kind of plays on the way that kind of people and like some men just like over-sexualize a woman on stage. And it's and it's a playful song about me like creeping in the ice cream parlors and just like looking at guys eating ice cream, and it's silly, but I don't actually do that. But it does like reflect like people, I feel like when I play it live, like men look at me and they're like, oh, what? And I'm like, yeah, you're looking at me on stage probably having some like type of way, you know, especially like up here. It's just like a bunch of very like, I want to say like old fashioned, like older people, you know, like they, very, some people are uncivilized too. So it's just like a little nudge, you know.
So, given all that, and I've seen you guys perform, not knowing any of that, I would have said that you and the other rest of the band have the world by the balls almost. Like, you got it.
Yeah, and that's what I like to put out.
Yeah. So, what is it the music that makes you get up there and just completely go for it? What is it about it that, with all these little problems that you have to deal with, makes it worth it to get up there?
I feel like, honestly, music is my purpose here on Earth. I feel like my class as a mythical human being is a bard to entice people with music, you know? And I feel like when I'm not like fulfilling that, especially now, like with original music, like I'm not doing well. I feel like it definitely corresponds with like my mental health. Like if I stop making music, if I stop being creative, like you know, people hit walls and it just goes downhill.
Right.
So it's always been since my childhood like a coping mechanism, therapeutic. Like going on stage is very meditative for me because it's just focusing on one thing, you know, for extended amounts of time, and that thing happens to be something I love. And yeah, music is just integral to all parts of my life all the time.
Yeah, it shows.
And after last night, like I said, like it's just like anytime I go on stage could be the last time I'm on stage, you know, too. Like you really just got to give it your all the time, because our time here is limited. And when I see people come out to our shows, like the turnout at King Coffee last night, I just get butterflies. Like it makes me so happy to know that people are supporting me doing this. You know, for every one person who's trying to stop me, there's 50 people who are for me, you know.
Yeah,
and this is great.
That tends to be a downfall of any artist, is that we can hone in on the one person that doesn't like it when there's so many people who do.
Yeah, and they don't deserve that energy or power, and no artist should have to put themselves through that, because an opinion's an opinion.
Yeah. So, on the flip side of this, what was some of your best experiences on stage?
Oh, man. Well, I would say, like, touring with Feller was some of the best, like, places I've ever seen. We did,
That's another group that you were
Yeah. They, they're such great people. I love them so much. But I was playing bass for them. And we played at this place, Super Happy Funland in Houston, Texas. And it was before we did South by Southwest. And it was just, like, I don't even know how to describe it. Like a massive warehouse of all murals and art and a big stage. And they had this, like, huge wall of just, like, Raggedy Anns and Raggedy Andies and, like, big statues, like Buddha Cat, like kittens, like real kittens running around. Like, I love cats, too. So, like, any venue with a cat is already, like, my favorite. But, yeah, that was a great show. As far as with Rubix Pube, we throw shows at our studio. You were there in April when we released Hypnostank. And we always have, like, the theme Dress to Express. We love, like, people, you know, dressing up and just expressing themselves, being weird. Which is definitely something I drew, like, from X Day. We'd have, like, you know, costume balls and stuff. And I think that's just a great way of, you know, doing that. We have visual art. So I know you put some of your art into our last show, and
it was awesome.
It was great. Yeah, and they have great turnouts because we also do, like, comedy at our studio with the shows and music, and just to have all of that, it really draws all the artists together in the community. And that's why I love, like, that I've been in Stroudsburg my whole life, because I feel like I'm so rooted in the musical community here.
Right.
And it's just, there's so much going on. Like, you could play, you know, the same whatever, like, hits on the radio, or you could go to the open mic and listen to people who, like, live down the street that have just been, you know, some people I meet, they've just been sitting in a room playing music. They're like a musical orphan and no one's found them.
Right.
You know, we play at, myself and Nate Marks, we play at the Quakertown Flea Market. And we met a guy, James Kleinman, and he's, you know, he doesn't really, I guess, he says he doesn't go out much, but he sits down and he gets on the bass and he's just like Les Claypooling it up, like just blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, man, you know, so many people are just sitting and they don't know what to do. And I really think, like, open mics around the community, like, people underestimate them, you know, but it's such a great place to meet, like, other artists.
Yeah, and we're lucky enough that there are a lot of open mics around here.
Yeah.
And there has been. I've been here since 2012-ish. And I've never been around a place that just was so many per capita.
Yeah.
You know, and the variety of it. you know, from the deer head to the living room.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is a lot of music up here. I'm sure. You know, was it always that way for you growing up? Did you always have outlets like that? Was there always a lot of music around?
Well, I lucked out because I had my guitar teacher who would take me. The first place we played, I don't know if you remember, on Main Street there was a restaurant called Molly's.
Yes.
Yeah, that was the first place I ever played out, and like I was like trembling about it, but he would always play on the Main Street and stuff. So then as I grew up, I was like, let me look back into these, like, you know, bars and places that have like the open mics. They aren't just booking.
Right.
And meeting more people. It just is networking, and it grows. And then I've been going to the Old Mill Pub for so long, but I forget how long Nicholas DeSalz has been doing it. I would say over 2 or 3 years he's been hosting there.
Okay.
Like, I've been going there for probably 4. And I just really admire the atmosphere there too, because you see this bar in the middle of nowhere, and it's kind of just like, okay, like middle of the hills, like mountain bar, and then you have all these artists come in on a Tuesday night and bring all these styles, like, and just all these different thoughts and music and so much to the table. That's
gonna be, I feel like, especially coming out of COVID-ness. I had this thought the other day that when we're all just like old people sitting around remembering, like, we're gonna talk about this, you know, 2020, 2021 at the Old Mill Pub when the world is just silent and has stopped. Yeah. Here's this little place just beaming with artists and music from all over the place.
And like, this is my personal opinion, but Nick and the Contact Collective, like, they are phenomenal, and I know that a lot of them play in the church together, and they have a very spiritual connection to music, and I think that really projects out to the atmosphere of, like, the open mic. When people are there, it is like a spiritual space, and that's my opinion, because I feel that way towards music too. I think that when Rubix Pube plays, not only are we, like, you know, testing limits of sound and stuff, but it's also kind of like spiritual for me. I had a girl once come up to me, and she was really high on mushrooms, and she was crying, and she was like, "I'm so sorry, I missed your set, like, I feel terrible." And I was like, and I didn't know what to say. I was kind of overwhelmed, but I was like, you know, like, we make a sacred space when we play that 3 of us share, and that's our attitude towards that, and it's confirmed. Like, if you are out doing something outside, talking to trees or whatever, like, you are having a moment, and we're having a moment. You don't have to be watching us. Like, I am still happy you were, like, because she said she was outside, like, having whatever, like, a moment to herself, and I said, like, I'm still glad that happened to you simultaneously. Like, that makes me feel good, and, you know, you could watch the video for performance. I don't care, you know, like, it is what it is, but I really feel strongly about that, making this sort of spiritual space, because what I experience on stage is what some people would, I mean, I know a lot of people who play music say it's like almost like just a telepathic plane of communication, because not only is it the communication of, like, okay, we're going to go to this part, we're going to go to that part, but it's the so the fact, like, that I can say, like, Granny Smith apple to you, and you're thinking of a Granny Smith apple in your head, like, I'm making these sounds, but you have this image in your head. Like, to me, that's simple magic. So the fact that I can say words on stage, but also make sounds that are subjective to an audience, I think there's so many layers of just things going on that's more than surface level music, if you know, have that open mind to it. Yeah.
No, that's an interesting way to put it, as simple magic, because it's very true.
Yeah, it really, communication, like, it's so bizarre to, like, think of it conceptually, and then, like, there's so much more you can do with it too as a performer, and, like, you're guiding people's attention, so the more well versed you are in that, the better you're gonna get, better you're gonna do.
So what are your future plans for Rubix Pube and performing, if you have any? Nothing
Yeah,
else.
I mean, we're trying to get another Bob comp out.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're working on that. I have a friend of mine, Reverend Negative. He did a remix on the first Bob comp, and it was our song "If I Were a Horse," and he like chopped it up and made it so like house music, kind of like dancey, and I was so flattered by that. I was like, it was so cool. But he writes original music. His band is called SubG Kids,
Okay.
and they're a SubGenius band as well. But they do original music, so I work with him. We're working on a second Bob comp too. It's gonna be great. And then hopefully, if stuff opens up, I want to book a tour.
Okay.
Rubix Pube is playing at X Day this year, which is gonna be in
Nice.
Florida. It's gonna be in Land O'Lakes, Florida, which is new for us. It's a new place, but we're looking forward to it. We got.
So would that be the first time you went anywhere like of that distance with Rubik's Pube?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. It'll be like our first. I mean, it's not a tour because we're just playing there, but
Right, but
we're
that's
traveling
awesome.
together.
Yeah.
It's
No,
like a bonding
definitely.
experience. We're
Yeah.
looking forward to it.
That'd
It's
be cool.
gonna be great.
And that's in the summer?
Yeah, that's July 5th.
Okay. At those festivals, so you mentioned that you guys all wait at the end. What kind of, is the music very diverse?
The music is diverse. We have like some people do piano playing and like original like songs, but a lot of them are, well, there's some like church hymn music to like kind of parody like being a church, and
Right.
a lot of them allude to like saucers and space and like the almost like 1950s sci-fi aesthetic.
Right.
So there's like church music, and then there's more of the, how you'd say, like devolved music, if that makes sense, where people are just getting on stage on the late hours and just playing electric ukuleles, theremins, like 2 drum kits, because why not? Someone's just hitting a metal sign. Like, it's just sound. And if you consider it sacred sound, then everyone's having a great time, So I guess that would be the cult stigma, is that everybody has the same opinion on, self-expression, and we all unite on this to make, be cool and open portals and make cool sounds,
Right. No, and it sounds like super open too. Like in your agreements on things, it is to be open.
And all these people are such like all the people I've met through the church are so creative and just original people who are truly a product of like their experiences and their like everything, the things they like, and just very intelligent, awesome people that just kind of have an excuse to let loose sometimes, Not everybody takes their experiences back with them, but I really felt inspired to do so and just like continue on like just being expressive and weird.
Yeah.
Because honestly, like I don't know, I like the opinions of people and how they react to something they haven't seen before. Especially when it's done by a woman. It's like, a lot of people, like I go into Guitar Center, and I feel like I get underestimated. I asked for, are you hiring? And he's like, we don't need people on the showroom floor. We don't need people selling stuff. And I was like, okay, well, I do repairs and I do lessons, so that's like what I was going for. And his whole demeanor changed, and he was like, oh, well, you can go online, blah, 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 blah. We have like these openings, I was like,
Wow,
so I wonder how much of that is just like people's judgment.
Yeah, that's a pretty obvious one.
Yeah.
That's a real obvious
one. So yeah, I would like, I love having that as something to stand for, just like females doing their thing, not caring,
Yeah, because
It's
that's the way it should be.
Absolutely.
So is there any overlap for you with your music and the SubGenius?
Okay, so I became a SubGenius before I started Rubix Pube, but Rubix Pube was definitely inspired by stuff I've learned and just like the attitude I've developed after doing that. But yeah, happened after Rubix Pube happened after I found out about the church.
I guess what I meant to ask is, which you also answered, was how the SubGenius has maybe affected your creativity.
Yeah, it's definitely just like taking a piece of my expressive self back and being able to channel it. Like, you know, we're having this conversation now and I'm not like hooting and hollering like I am on stage, you know, but being able to just do that and not care about the opinions of other people, like not care about the opinions of what SubGenius call the pinks, the pink boys. Like I know I'm part of not just the Church of the SubGenius, but the musical community of people who support me, you know, and not that I need that, but it's nice. Like, it makes you feel good as a performer to have that kind of backup. And I know some people, like myself and Nate Marks, like, we both share, like, people, like, kind of challenging that and, like, conflicting that, like, does help us, too. Like, we don't like to just have everything like sugar-coated, you know. We don't like people coming up to us and being like, yep, that was good, you know. Like, we like people being like, what the hell was that? Or like, why aren't you, you know, like, play some real music or whatever. People, you know, like to, there's a lot of different opinions about it, but I appreciate the contrast. I do. I don't mind criticism.
We were saying before, the fact that anything one creates can evoke any kind of emotion, as hard as it may be to swallow sometimes, is a good thing. Like, it's a win because you got something out of that person.
Yeah, and they will probably remember it, even if they didn't like it.
Yeah. And a lot of times people come around. You know, there have been times when, more so with movies, when I've seen a movie and I really didn't like it. It would stick with me somehow, and it would bug me for a while, and then I'd feel like, okay, well, why don't I like it? What, like, obviously this made me feel that way. Why? And many times in that pursuit of why, I end up liking the movie. Yeah. After, like, deconstructing, I'm like, oh, well, that was a weird thing to not like, and that this is the reason, you know, give it another chance.
And I think that's an advantage of being an artist. Like, me and you are able to kind of open up to, like, okay, how is this made? Where are they coming from? Not just like, I don't like this. Right. It makes me feel, you know, like, we're able to break it down and have more of, like, an unbiased opinion, I think.
Yeah, and I think we sort of, by putting things out there that might be weird and might generate lots of different comments, I use the term callous. I don't know if I'm not totally content with it, but it builds a little bit of a callus on you that lets you be a little bit freer.
Definitely, yeah.
Like that something that is protecting you from the comments that you shouldn't ought to listen to anyway.
Yeah, you know? and that's kind of what I refer to, like, with me and Nate. Like, the fighting, like, strengthens our shell, if that makes sense.
Yeah. We come in from a place of more understanding about it. Yeah. Because each artist has experienced something similar at some point. You're going to hit that. Right. You're going to have to, somebody at some point is not going to like your art. Yeah. So that is just part of the path. You're just finding your way to bob and weave as best you can. And
that's why I see, you know, you could go up, I see some people, and, you know, it takes all sorts of people in the world. You know, it really takes balls to get on stage and do your thing, but a lot of people will get up, you know, acoustic guitar, sing a couple covers, and everyone's like, good job, good job, good job, good job, you know? But I couldn't see myself, like, in any just mundane loop or, like, an echo chamber of people that agree with me, you know? Like, I really like to hear it all. Yeah. And I think everyone has experience with that and should appreciate the contrast, too.
This is WEVD in New York.
Do you have a problem?
Then call the problem solvers.
Taxes got you down. Wasp in your crawl space.
Term paper blues, migrating implants.
Call the problem solvers. Because after all, what's a problem but an opportunity disguised as a stripper having a seizure on your boat? Mouse in your house.
Or need a cheap flight to Tucson.
We are the problem solvers. That was a good rehearsal. Now let's record it.
You are listening to the first station on your dial.
WCNW, operating on a frequency of 1,500 kilocycles in Brooklyn, New York.
Who were the bands you were listening to? Who were some of your influences in music?
Yeah, prior to Rubix Pube, I was introduced to a lot of obviously avant-garde music. The Residents is great. I love them, and I love Primus and Devo's one of my favorites. As far as newer musicians go, I'm a big fan of Ty Segall. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's kind of just modern psychedelic rock, but I admire him a lot because he plays with a lot of other artists, and while he still has a style, you can see the change between albums with the people he works with, and he's a great guitarist, and the style, I appreciate that. I'm a big fan of Fred Frith as far as bass. I think he's awesome, and Les Claypool, obviously Primus.
Right.
You can kind of see that in some of the Rubik's Pube sound, but a lot of it is also my taste, Dan's taste, and Rob's taste combined, because Dan's King Kong. He loves metal. He loves heavy, drumming, just aggressive stuff.
Right.
And then Rob has more of a alternative kind of I like the 80s, but he has a 80s 90s feel to him, you know. And I think those three things also contribute to our sound. You can see hints of me liking Primus. You can see obviously Dan's into metal, and Rob's got the demeanor of how Talking Heads or something like that, So I think it's definitely something that's different but compatible. And I listen to everything though, honestly. I know I'll hang out with Brother Bear and I'll put some rap music on. I'm yes, and I can see it too inspire him, which inspires me too. I'm so I really do listen to everything.
In those early days, playing all those classic rock covers, do you feel that infiltrated into your creative process at all, or not so much?
A little bit. I feel my parents were very cookie cutter, just classic rock. This is what's up to. They showed a lot of that to me, and it helps me just rebel against it once I realized I could. It was I'm gonna find the weirdest music, and then I got into just all sorts of weird John Zorn composers of jazz. I love jazz, but also he does organized noise and just chaos too. So being raised on the the hits made me really want to challenge why do people just like the hits, and kind of contrasting the stemming off of that, Rubik's Pube will do covers, and we do sometimes we do the Devo and Gut Feeling, or we're working on Godzilla by Blue Oyster Cult. And then
nice.
What's the other one we do? We do Hello Skinny in Constantinople, which is done by the Residents and Primus, which I love both versions of it. So when we cover that though, it's still our own version of that. And we might use some references and stuff, but we still make it original.
Yeah, and I think that's the way to do it. Give it its integrity of the original tune, but put some Rubik's Pube on here too.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Who you mentioned a couple current bands. What are some peers, some groups you've played with that have been inspirational?
When I was with Feller, I played with a bunch of bands that really inspired me to do my own thing too. John Kaz is a New Jersey artist, and he plays with different bands. I know one lineup is John Kaz and the Rippers, and he sings about being from New Jersey, being Italian. He likes hot dogs, just stuff that I'm hey, okay, whatever, I can get down with that. And that he's very unique. I really like him. He has Pizza Bagel Records, and he'll share Rubik's Pube stuff, which is nice because we get our name in Jersey even though we don't play out there right now. I played a show with this band called the Sonderbombs, and they're from Akron, Ohio, and the lead person, Willow, they're amazing. Like, they just, the whole group they have such a great dynamic. Yeah, I'm trying to think of, like, obviously the people around here. Like, I love Brother Bear.
Right.
Like, he's so, like, versatile. Like, he could just fall into anyone to back him up. Like,
Right.
he can just, like, change his vocal style, you know? He does so much stuff. So I also, I view Nate as, like, an equal to me, too. Like, because of our opinions towards performing and the type of show we put on, too.
Right.
So, I consider the Squirrel Trappers like a Rubik's Pube sister brother-sister band, you know? You want to see us most of the time wherever Rubik's Pube is, like Squirrel Trappers are. Right. And it's kind of because we're the same members, you know? But it's also like the style is there. It's parts of the same show, which might be called a circus show, but still a show.
Yeah.
There is nothing that quite hits the spot, so your family will like it a lot. So when they're set to eat, just give them this treat. Manischewitz American Matzo. MANISCHEWITZ.
Have you ever gone to the Deerhead open mic?
You know, I think I've been in there maybe once. Like, I've never been to the open mic, though.
Okay, neither have I.
Yeah, it's something I've been wanting to, like, for years. So.
Yeah. You should. I think you should. I think they need some Rubik's Pube.
Yeah, it would definitely be weird. Like, I don't know what kind of music goes on there. If it's just jazz or if it's the open mic, or is it...
I've never been either. From my understanding, it's mostly jazz. I mean, people go there and will do like solo acoustic sets that aren't necessarily jazz. I've wanted to go, and I just never made it. It's weird, as much of a jazz head as I am.
Yeah,
I've never.
And
been
it's
there.
it's the oldest jazz club in like North America or like something crazy like that.
Yeah. I had, I didn't buy it because of this, but I bought this jazz album. Rex Stewart, who was a trumpeter for a bunch of different band leaders, then he had his own solo career. So I bought this record just because I wanted something of his, and the back of it was a whole write-up on the Deerhead.
Yeah.
About how much of a hub it was.
I believe it, yeah.
Because I know that, have you heard of the catacombs and the tunnels? Mm-hmm. Okay, so one of their functions was for bootlegging under the Sherman Theater.
Okay.
Because the Sherman Theater would get acts like Laurel and Hardy, or different comedians, or maybe a music act. More like theater, though, back then. It was more like comedies, or they'd show a movie. And there was so much travel. This is before Route 80, but there was so much travel up here, and it was so easy to bootleg because you just got the right guys to come up here. They'd get treated to a show or whatever. People's palms would get greased, and off they'd go back into the city. And they used a lot of the tunnels and things for bootlegging and running it through those basements. And there are a lot of houses, like the old houses. A friend of mine rented an apartment in like one of the older big houses that was right in the vicinity of the Sherman, and the apartment is full of like little trapdoors.
Yeah.
Whether it was in the attic, in floorboards, just like little spots.
Yeah, like I feel like I'm into like conspiracies and stuff, but like there's definitely like a bunch of people I talk to around here that are like convinced about like just the tunnels under Stroudsburg, like where they go, what's up with that, like, and it's funny, but when I started taking guitar lessons, it was at now it's Morpheus Music on Ann Street, but it was Precision Music, like while ago. And my guitar teacher was like, yeah, like there's underground tunnels like all in Stroudsburg, and like there's part, like he showed me like downstairs there's like this door and it just looks like a dirt tunnel, but like it was a door with a dirt tunnel, and he's like, yeah, this is like one spot of it. And I was like, and I was a kid, I was like, whoa. And he's like, all right, yeah, don't go, but like it's I wonder where, because the courthouse is here, you know, like the schools and stuff, like I think there's like creatures down there that like
I hope there
like
are.
feet on
I
want to believe in that. Yeah. Because there has to be, like, if there's so many places with doors and stuff, like, there has to be outdoor doors and stuff.
Right. I know. I've seen an entrance underneath the altar. Like, because they had a bunch of things just piled up. Like, from generations of renters that would just leave things in the basement to rot. So there was, like, doors and, like, broken windows and, like, everything piled up against this, and he like moved it aside, and it was like, it started out about, you know, like a refrigerator size entrance, but you could see that it expanded out as you went in. But at that time, like I wasn't like, I'm not ready to go in there yet.
Yeah.
But it would be interesting. It would be. I don't know what you'd find.
Yeah. So let me ask you, what do you think about the building on, what would it be, 7th Street, maybe? The, like, fake Verizon building. Do you know what I'm talking about? It says Verizon, but the check mark is not a Verizon check mark.
Right.
Do you think anything of that building? Because I swear to God, like, I drive past, like I'll drive past it and like my radio cuts out every time. I'm like, whoo. But then like it's only, the lights are on at night all the time. Like it's never a thing. Like it's just like I swear, like that, and then like another like Spacehead's conspiracy thought of mine is the intersection by the Stroudsburg High School, and I think there's more to, like, the fact that there's an elementary school, a high school, a nursing home, and a cemetery, like all around one intersection. Like, I don't know, that just, it's always been eerie to me. Me and my friend, actually, we went up to Canada and we were sleeping in the same room, and we had a dream the same night that we met at that intersection and had a conversation, and when we woke up, we told each other we had this dream that we were talking, and it was like the same exact thing, like dream, like both sides of it. But that's always been like a weird spot in Stroudsburg for me. I'm like, man, I think there's something, energy vortex there or something.
It definitely is, because I never quite thought of it in that term, that you have the whole life process there. Of like, that's quite the Bermuda Triangle of Stroudsburg. And I don't know either about that Verizon building. I've never seen anything happen there. And it doesn't really fit in with the architecture either.
Like, and I feel like I see things all over Stroudsburg, like close and reopen, like that's been the same.
Right.
Like,
and it's an odd thing to just be like plopped there, like a Verizon building.
With no real Verizon like check mark. Like the check mark literally looks like white masking tape. Like someone just like.
Jim Karanga of Watts, California, is eating a bowl of ethereal cereal, the heavenly breakfast food. Jim, did you know that ethereal cereal has twice as much vitamin B as any other leading cereal? Ethereal also has the added punch of 0.002 ESP units of pectin. No shit.
What shows you guys have coming up?
We are playing the Pride Festival here in Stroudsburg on June 6th, and then June 12th we're playing in Albrightsville at Pine Ridge Fest. And that's a great lineup. It's all like local talent, local bands. I know Brother Bear's going to be there. Nate Marks, we're playing another Three the Hard Way. I don't know if you've ever seen them. It's Tyrone Bradley on the drums, and Lion's got that bodiless Steinbeck bass. So they're playing. They're awesome. But yeah, there's a bunch of people playing. That's going to be great. And then we got X Day on July 5th.
Nice.
That might be our last gig before the end of the world.
I know. So people better see you.
Yeah, we gotta come out and see us. And we're always at the Old Mill Pub in Scioto on Tuesday nights with Nicholas D'Souza and King Coffee in Emmaus. Wednesday nights. They have a great open mic, great crowd.
Yeah, that was really cool. I enjoyed their whole setup there.
Yeah, it's awesome. They always have art hanging up, and it's just like a small place I want to support. It's not a place that would get large crowds all the time. So if I have the ability to like feature like we did last night and bring a huge crowd like that place deserves it. Like small coffee shops, like just working with the community in different ways is like makes me feel great about what I'm doing. I hope it works out like that. Like I want to see music and art, thriving again. I know COVID pushed a lot of people into the studio, which is good. Like I think it helped people like, be creative and have time to think.
Exactly.
But I'm ready to go out and show people the Rubik's Pube.
Yeah. And you guys are playing a show. I don't know if it's super confirmed yet. We can always cut it out. Okay. But you're playing a show at the end of June?
Oh, yes. June 24th at King Coffee. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's going to be music and comedy going on there. We're going to hopefully have different comedians. We have Joey Tepedino and, Nate Marks also does comedy.
Yep.
And hopefully Taylor Bernstein, he does musical comedy too. And Dee Allen's going to be doing music, and she's phenomenal.
Yeah.
You saw her, her pitch is like incredible. She's got great like pipes and guitar skills. But yeah, we're looking forward to that too. King Coffee's a great place. I would support it all the way. Nate introduced me to there. And I was like, all right, I got to show you stuff in Stroudsburg then. Yeah. But it's great. Like, when you meet someone, too, like, with connections in a different whole area, like, even, like, having the studio in Bethlehem, like, it opened me up to, like, a whole different community of people than just, like, Main Street in Stroudsburg and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and it seems like a lot of people are cross-pollinating.
Yes.
And people from there are coming here, and we're going down there.
Yeah.
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 So you mentioned Nate. Before we go, we'll talk about the Squirrel Trappers a little bit. As a member of the Squirrel Trappers.
Yes.
How'd you become a Squirrel Trapper?
So I met Nate about like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. He was playing. I was hosting at this place called Blend in Bath. I don't know if you've ever been there.
I haven't been.
Definitely check it out.
Okay.
They do like artists, artwork and stuff. Jen Bertram is like the owner and host, and she does phenomenal events. She does like, she'll do like yoga, sip and paint, comedy open mic, music open mic. Okay. So I was hosting the Halloween night music open mic, and I saw Nate Marks, and he came up to me and he was like, "This is gonna be the best fucking show you've ever seen in your life." And I was like, "Oh yeah?" And I was like, all right, I won't smoke my cigarette. I'll stay in here. And I saw him, and he pulled out these huge, like, stringed instruments, like medieval, like, sitar stuff. And this kid dressed up in a big banana costume came on stage, and they were just, rubbing rubber chickens as the guitars. And, like, prior to that, I've only ever seen, like, All Along the Watchtower at the bar, you know?
Okay.
So I'm like, oh my God, like, other weird people exist here. And I just jammed with him and learned his songs, and I picked up the bass, and I was just so happy to meet someone who shared like a similar belief system in making music, and we both take it like seriously. Like, it's not just a hobby to us, like it is our like purpose for being here, and like it shows. Like, we are a very tight duo. And when we have, like, we'll have Rob Shepard drum for us, and it's whoever's in on stage at the time is a Squirrel Trapper, But I've been continuously, like, performing with him, and I'm happy to. It's always great.
Yeah, what is it like up there?
Well, it's nice because I'm not doing Rubik's Pube, so Nate's taking the grunt of the reaction and the pressure. Right, gotcha. Which is why I love playing bass too. It's relaxing for me. Like, I don't have to worry about singing, playing guitar, So it's definitely a load off my shoulders, even though the stuff he writes is so intricate and like melodical, and it's still easy for me to play and not have to worry about being the center of attention. But I always have fun. He's always got something new, like, planned, even if it's, like, to the audience or on me, like a new song we haven't practiced, you know? Like, he keeps me on my toes.
And you guys just played some shows in Virginia, right?
Yeah, we just went down to Virginia Beach. There was our friend Damian Wade was hosting at Keegan's bar, and it was funny. Like, it's a whole new region, obviously, and, like, people are so starved for original content. Like, seeing new reactions, new people I've never seen before, like, it's nice to just be like, all right, it's us versus them, let's go, you know? You don't have to worry about, you know, it's nice to go out and see the friends at these local open mics and stuff, but when you're just taking, like, this foreign task, you know, it's just like, all right, let's just do it, you know? We don't know anyone here, there's nothing to lose, and it was a huge success. We're probably going to go back there in like a month or two. They want to get like our whole Rubix Pube and Squirrel Trappers, maybe do a show there or something. So that's awesome. It's nice. We are like, oh, hey, let's go check out, you know, the beach or whatever, and play an open mic, and then we have a connection. We meet people, you know, we network, and then if for some reason we're going east or go down the East Coast, you know, and we got to stop at Virginia Beach, it's like, hey, let's hit up Damian Wade, you know? It's just nice. I did a lot of touring with Feller, and it was like DIY venues, which are like basically run out because of COVID, like out of business almost. So it's like I'm on this search for finding like unconventional places to play, like whether it be like, you know, a weird museum or like a hot dog place, you know, like just getting connections for people that also like music and feel similarly, you know. We can do our thing anywhere, you know. It doesn't have to be a stage venue, you know.
Right. So you also brought this with you. We're not gonna without talking
donuts about and a pamphlet on a G.G. Allen cult.
Yeah, no, you brought the most gifts of any podcast guest, which is awesome. This is the book of the Holy Church of G.G. Allen, punk rock god who threw shit in the faces of fucked up assholes.
Yes.
That's pretty awesome.
It is made by my friend who goes by Mofo Paul and his girlfriend Katie. I'm so close with them, but they make these pamphlets, and we have a song called G.G. Allen at the Christmas Tree Farm, and I was like, wow, I gotta grab a few of those and stick them in our merch box.
Yeah. No, they're awesome.
Very appropriate.
Check it out. 93. Okay, I didn't realize.
Yeah, so you can eat some donuts and read about G.G. Allen.
That's a good afternoon to me. Where can folks find your CDs and your music and such?
We have Spotify, we have Apple Music, we have Bandcamp, all Rubix Pube, and we have, you know, if you see us at a show, we always have hard copies of our CDs. Cool. We had hats going for a while, but I think we only have like one left. And what else we got? Got Napster. No, but yeah, we have like YouTube videos. We have our performances on our YouTube, all Rubix Pube. Our Instagram is Rubix Pube PA, all lowercase, and we have Facebook Rubix Pube.
Cool. If people wanted to buy your music.
Yeah, you could do that on the Apple Music or on Bandcamp. Okay. You can purchase
But the best way is to see you in person.
Oh, yeah. You won't regret it. It's life-changing.
And so you guys do the theater open mic Tuesday nights at the Old Mill Pub.
Yep.
And we'll see you guys on Wednesday nights at King Coffee in Emmaus.
And we're trying to keep doing Friday nights at the Quakertown Flea Market at the there's a music store in there called the Rock Den, and they do Friday night open mics, and it's such a hole in the wall literally, but it's so cool. Like it's just we have such a good time out there. We meet all sorts of different people. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday.
Cool. We'll put it in the info. Thanks so much for being on and coming on. It was so much fun talking with you.
Yeah. Anytime.
Thank you, folks, once again, for listening to another episode of the Planet Shivers Podcast. It was very fun having Vanessa on and talking to her, getting to know her background a little bit, and hearing what she's got coming up. It's my opinion that Rubix Pube is on their way to the moon, and we might as well all get in at the ground floor and watch these three rise, along with Nate Marks and the Squirrel Trappers. They are all putting out phenomenal music right now, in the moment, live and in person, that you shouldn't be missing. Now, in case you can't see them live, here's the list of all the social medias you could find out more. First of all, you can check out Vanessa at Vanessa March on Instagram. Also on Instagram at Pube_of_Rubix and at Rubix Pube PA, which you could also find on YouTube. And don't forget, Vanessa also plays along with other members of Rubix Pube with Nate Marks and the Squirrel Trappers. You could find them on Instagram at Nate Marks and the Squirrel Trappers and on YouTube on the YouTube channel for Nate Marks. You could find my work on Instagram at Albert Shivers. Don't forget, for the fourth time, June 24th, extravaganza at the King Coffee in Emmaus. All the information will be below. Check it out. It's going to be a fantastic time. You can find this episode and more of the Planet Shivers No Frills podcast on all major podcast platforms and YouTube. Once again, thank you, Vanessa, for being on the show. It was great. And thank you for the donuts. And to everybody else out there, take care of yourself and take care of somebody else.